Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, May 21st, year 2024, here at the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and then, of course, the likes of you out there. Make it your business to enhance and fortify this, even though it sounds so dramatic, to enhance and fortify, yes, but indeed, to enhance and fortify the concept of public access as it yields with showing this wonderful, constant, kind face to uh, keep incentives in place in order to somehow making the actual formation of it um, flourish and whatnot. But anyway, going back to public access, of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and then, of course, as I mentioned already, you are there, the huge group that knowingly and unknowingly, directly or indirectly, constantly contribute to this concept and um, uh, to emphasize that which is already being emphasized by the nature of um the issue itself. Speaking of stage available, speaking of a center for expression where one can find himself less vulnerable and more secured in the sensation of resolve involving and one one tries to make his feelings and reservations and feelings and sensations known to. That's just another way of saying sharing your constant artistic attempts that materialize to become music and the written word and the floating color. Um, so I found myself in more ways than one entangled between these three mediums and getting to know myself and actualize a strategy accordingly and accordingly strategy, if I may say it the other way around. But I actually prepared to share with you if I take it if I will allow myself um, to venture with some wonderful attempts that are. And how do you like my jiu-jitsu cap? I mean, this is actually a great. Used to be a great part of my life. I mean, it still is in more ways than one. And Sensei Mark Tatel, that has his own dojo in on 3 Mile Harbor, is an incredible contribution to our community. Mark Tatel is an incredible person and brings joy to many people and the realizations of self-awareness, by the this wonderful arts, martial arts, jiu-jitsu. So I wanted to, yeah. So I had this was the relationship between the those scarce moments that you end up experiencing and realizing more and more the power of documentation. And of course, documentation cannot take place without the ability to recollect, to reimagine, to reenact, and to bring yourself to that point where you can actually rely on a moment down the road where you can come together with that experience again, maybe in a more of an intimate scenario, and create a constant loop, a completion of cycles. And then, of course, we say that, we do that, we think that only because when it comes to the moment of truth and you find yourself in your studio, in your playroom, into your thinking room, into your music room, that actually, that which you feel, which you really feel, will come to life and will speak for um, uh, growth phase. Yes, that's what I thought. Uh, that's amazing. Okay. Yeah. The Yes, and this will be something like this. No. Oh boy. Yes, and that will be. Uh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, in that sense, it's you know, I was thinking about the combination of words, gathering bravery, and I call it sweet regime of gathering bravery when you stick out as you are posted to be a wholesome availability. Your time has come. Breathe to cool off. Smears left behind. Your time has come. So, yeah, just language wise, writing poetry sometimes to emphasize language and focus on that and quickly enough witnessing change because um, you kind of indirectly tricked yourself to get to that point. Sweet regime of gathering bravery. This is talking about when we stick out as we are posted to be wholesome in a yes wholesome availability. Yeah, and your time has come. Breathe to cool off smears left behind. Down the slippery slope you imagine aggressively. It works for you. It works for you to hate the thought. It hurts for you to hate the thought you might be able to hurt yourself. I touched your head. I touched your head once in the dark to greet you halfway, like as a reminder of God's existence. In your heart, you responded, even before you realized it was me. I was taken by the instant merger. It was calling me long after I have responded. It was wish gathering. It was a wish gathering. Therefore, I turned my head, and there you were, lost in your own drop, lost in your own drop of light. I was approaching the center of the dark, this dark halo. I was approaching the center of the dark halo. This is the dark halo. You were consumed by quickly, abruptly, strongly, decisively, sweetly, intentionally. You were erasing your name off of the chart which carried your name for generations, and you kept on scrubbing as you were lending yourself to the mercy of the outcome with the mind of its own, with the outcome with the mind of its own. I reminded you in the nick of time, and you avoided the danger. And you are with us now. And it pays to pay. It pays to pay. As indeed it saves lives through your mouth. Cringed and hardened freezing winds carry on from far away. Dream images supporting the sense of all dreams thrive and elevate high into brief sober encounters. What the heck? Yeah. Carry on from faraway dreams. From faraway dreams. No, I cannot fix that here. And so yeah, in the so there's always a description of a place where a, a gathering of meaningfulness is taking place, like as if one wants to seek cleansing the remnants of that which is left behind. And it's like also your moment has arrived, and you can fill in the blanks of what is the nature of those moments. But your moment has arrived. It arrives as we speak, and um, and this is the stage where you not only sensing and feeling and experiencing descend or ascend, you're actually imagining it. So it's somewhat of an easier way to get acquainted without leaving home and visit everything in the distance. And being set apart doesn't really affect the strength of the structure itself. That speaks for, well, pretty much basic stuff that needs to take place in order for great things to happen. So the so as a parent, I mean, I see myself as a parent, when I just put my hand on my kid's head, to feel the warmth of their brains and the aura of their heart. So it's always like with the head, you feel it, you touch it, you show love, you feel love. So this is like, even if you have someone that doesn't have to be your child, it can be a good friend, it can be someone, it can be a stranger. You want to just touch their head briefly to say, I'm here and I can do a lot without doing much, really. So, so yeah, you have to reach out in order to establish this touch or to touch. So it's not and this was the moment of darkness. And that moment of darkness was actually the height of its of what growth spelled out to be. And but then you're starting to realize self-inflicting pain. And you begin to hate it. You begin to hate this feeling of self-inflicted pain. And like a silent greeting halfway is taking place that's actually turning out to be very, very important. And and then there's just a whisper in God's, a whisper of God in your heart. Yeah, that's as close as possible and as far away as possible from the concept of religion. And that's before recognition really becomes so clear in your mind that actually you're actually revealed. It's like a revelation. There's like that memory uh, instantly triggers a reality, recognition. And then, of course, the marriage is inevitable. That's like instantly takes place instantly, and then when you take a step back, you realize that the echo becomes evident, as if just a second ago you didn't even know it existed. You know, so suddenly it's the echo that lingers, um, and and the let's see what I just received here. What was it? Uh, let's see if he's going to answer.
Well, hello.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to. Yes, I wanted to let you know that you're on the air now. So I'm recording a show. So I saw your message. So I said I'll give you a call.
Oh my God! You know what? I'm not dressed very well. I haven't done my hair. I haven't brushed my teeth. So you saw my message. You do fascinate me. You got this great mind.
Yeah,
Such a great mind.
and it's funny you send a message in the middle of me reciting a poem that was. It's amazing. It's something about gathering bravery.
Gathering bravery.
Yes, I don't know why it came to mind almost like a subtitle to a poem, but it was the poem itself.
So I'm not interrupting you while you're writing a poem, but while you are reading a poem.
No, 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 you're not interrupting me. It was more like storytelling poetry, so I wasn't like being too official about my sharing with the public.
Oh, good, good, good.
Yeah,
You know,
but I like your instinctive approach to the desire to create. That's very unique.
that's what I loved having you on the podcast with me, and me being on yours. It's great, and you do have. I mean, how many years have I known you, man? A really, really long
Almost
time,
30
and
years. Yeah, 30 years at least.
that kind of frightens me a little. That anything could be like 30 years ago, and but so I've known you from when I first got to LTV such a long time ago. But you've been doing this consistently. Yeah, I talk about you being like this living legend. You're just like like Joe Franklin. I mean, he had that show going on forever.
Yes.
And but you do that, but you have these different artistic disciplines that you use to express yourself, painting, writing, but that impulse, the thing that, and when we were talking together on the podcast before, and you were talking, and it was kind of about your sister too, but where you just go, oh no, I know, no, now is when I have to go write a poem. But you said it was such deliberate, like almost like, hey, everybody has to get out of the way quick. I gotta go write a poem. Otherwise, something bad is gonna happen if I don't get it out or something. It's like, wow, this guy had that drive to make sure you capture your creative moment when something is hitting you. That thing fascinates me. I mean, some people have like nothing, have none of that, have absolutely no creative spark or no drive to express themselves. You, I that part that when we were talking before, that I loved about you. You have this endless struggle, this fight that you gotta get that creative thing over, almost like it's hard to describe. It's this drive to overcome something that could hold you back from your expression and expressing yourself and asserting your reality on oh, okay, I got it. I got it. I got it. It's your drive to express yourself on your terms in life, the way you want to, when you want to, and you have this kind of struggle to make sure that your self expression is going to get out there no matter what. And
Yeah,
a
thrive
lot of
and
people.
yeah, and first of all, preemptive with a preemptive attitude, and then also yearning for to thrive.
Yeah, you got to get it out there, and it's like I don't want to be standing in your way.
No, but when let me get back to you and say, but you you possess these same qualities, otherwise you wouldn't be able to realize them or to notice them. And you have your own way, you're doing it differently than me, but you're doing the same thing in terms of what we are trying to establish or to achieve. And so you have that kind of sense of proximity, placement, and some kind of a basic coherent order that can keep us intact while we are wildly dispersing our thoughts all over the place. So at least we want the stage to be sturdy, so we don't have to deal with technical issues while we're dealing with the formation and the becoming of the world and life.
Well, first I'm gonna accept that as a huge compliment, that you're putting me in any kind of same category as you with your brain. Thank you. I so yeah, let's work with that. That will make my day.
I'm just
Uh,
stating facts, because I'm stating facts because I call it as I see it with you.
mm. Well,
Uh,
thanks. I do have impulses to express myself. You got them really honed in, where mine will kind of come in a little bit more fuzzier way or not, and then when I am creating or writing something or doing, I'm in another wonderful zone, but and thank you. So and yes, that it takes one to know one. So what I see in you, and when I'm listening, I'm like, hey, listen to this guy. This guy is really getting it. Listen to this fucking guy. He knows. He gets it, man. He's like really in there. And then I realized that everybody's at some different level of their own evolution. And I look at people, and I do. I am
That's very
aware.
well
People.
said. By the way, you very well said. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, hey, listen. You'll love this. This is a quote of mine. A poet's world is one that is well worded.
Okay.
a, a poet's world is one that is well worded. That
Yes.
like you just word your world well, and the way you express yourself. The so that.
Yeah, and you know that's why you can actually enhance that and take it to levels that not even known to you, that you can surprise yourself. Actually, to be able to surprise yourself on a daily basis, that's a great achievement. So I always thought that, yeah, I can achieve that by eliminating the need to seek a subject matter as a condition to embark on a journey, an artistic journey. You know how they get people get stuck because they think, well, if I don't know what I'm going to be doing, then why should I start? Why should I take the first step? Why should I push myself to? I should wait longer. I should be more. But this conservatism doesn't. It's not a part of reality. It's a part of fiction. So we got to be very careful. So when I approached it, I said, well, how about I will achieve the subject matter by trying as hard as I can to avoid it. Do you follow what I'm saying? To eliminate, at my attempt to eliminate it will actually create the title itself, but not before I will show a certain level of resilience and longevity, and of a promise of, the returns are solid and evident. You deal with me, it's like you say, okay, he pays 2%. If I give him $1 million, well, I'd rather have that 2% for sure than being promised 8% and ending up with nothing. um, but the thing on the surface is that you want to, for example, abstract expressionism. That's a legitimate concept, but it's a boring concept because most of those who want to create abstract expressionism, they will come through the abstractive aspect of that which will be needed to be expressed. So where are they stuck? In trying to achieve abstraction. But if you come as an abstract, as an existing abstract, into the equation of expressionism, then you really have to be yourself. That means the more you will be able to remain yourself, the more of a genius you become in the process of that creation, because you don't have to spend time in establishing abstraction, because you come as abstract itself into the equation of expressionism. And what is expressionism? Express your mind, speak up your mind. That's what expressionism is, a big word for some basic stuff. So that's how I achieve the, let's say, the unusualness of the language, of my use of language, is because it affects also the language, it affects the music. So you don't have to be a great writer or a great musician in order to create an impact, to leave an impact. You know what I mean? And the crown of it all is consistency. You got to be ridiculously ridiculously consistent.
Well,
Boringly, you know what I mean? The kind of patient, forced patience.
forced patience. Look, there's nobody that is. You're so right about consistency, and you, man, you have gotten your thing, and you are consistent with it. You're steady with it. The surprising yourself thing, that you're very humble with that. A lot of people don't have that spark. They like they live on this kind of like hum, this one tone, and nothing is surprising, nothing changes. It's like they just live in the same. Well, now the big word of the day these days is vibration.
The
What vibration are you living at?
Just a
But
little correction. They have the spark. It's just they don't know how to really make it
yes,
come to life.
yes,
If someone will show them, it might be easier than you think to create a huge amount of incredible creators.
Yep, so, and that is exactly, and that speaks to what the text was that I just sent you, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because that
Your
you
timing was
understand.
impeccable. You don't even understand. So, yeah, you were
Gotcha.
saying?
Well, I love that, the synchronicity, but yeah, that the recognizing. Like, I love that you just said that. So when you go with you free yourself to go with that, whatever triggers that thing. I mentioned that you when you talk, it's like something triggers something, and you say, "Oh, I gotta write a poem. I gotta write about this," and you're consistent and you're true to yourself, and that's why you are like, and I'm going to use one of your phrases. You're the master of the alternative. You look at something and you go, no. Here's
The
something different.
master of the alternative. You have good
Yeah,
memory.
yeah, I loved it. Well, that kind of just sat inside of me. I'm like, how cool is this freaking guy? I'm the master of the alternative. I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that, but no, I'm going to go. And then you come back to your consistent self, but and then to surprise yourself. I mean, that's fun. I to and how so you're never bored inside of your own mind. That's for sure, Haim.
Yeah, but we should allow access to that. We should allow vulnerability, but we have to be those who create vulnerability first. When you want to test something, you have to actually create that thing that will be compatible with the environment and with what it is that's going to trigger it to give you an indication, like to give you a number, to give you a grade, to give you something like that. So that means we need to allow all these ingredients that will help humility to be on the level that it needs to be. And
You spoke. You've spoken about humility a lot. I mean,
yeah,
it's
and
part of.
humility. You know why?
Yeah.
Because the process itself is much greater than our limited ability to make sense of anything. So that means that there is a true truth behind the aspects that scare artists by presenting a blank canvas, for example. It's real, just as much as hearing voices in your studio when you're alone. There is real. It doesn't mean that there's anything there. It means that you hear voices that is just a part of the deal, the package, and you need to kind of accept it and dismiss it at the same time, because many other weird things will come your way. Then what's going to happen? You're going to find yourself at the end really apologizing for why you did not become who you wanted to become, why you did not create the word and send it forth that you had it within. And it will be maybe at best an honest ad- admittance of weakness and many other things that just led to an unnecessary failure or kind of collapsing before even establishing a skeleton. And you find yourself in it when you realize that, my God, now I really have an additional aspect to it all. There's a new urge that tells you and makes you feel like something is needed to be done every second, not obsessively, just a little bit, but every second. So that's you found.
Obsessively is a relative term.
No, obsessively
you
can
know,
be, it's good
yeah,
sometimes if you know how to
yeah.
control it and to insert it and pull it out. But it's pretty much most it's mostly a destructive ingredient, destructive, potentially speaking.
Mm.
It destroy more than it can, and then you need to be really established to accept it into your life for longer periods of time. But before that, you just use it as a touch and go. When you need a 1 second of 100% content, then you do that instead of having 1% for 100. The other way around. But when you look at poetry and you say, well, you can always create a poem and instantly out of your failure, as much as out of anything else in your life. There's no limitation. You see, I learned it from kids. Kids don't have conditions like, oh, because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm supposed to feel this way, and I wonder how come I feel that way, and therefore I will not do this as much as I wanted to plan and do that. Kids don't think like that, correct? They think about, where's my ball that I put it there, and how come daddy said that but he didn't follow through, and he thinks like, well, where are we going from here? After we do that, this is a kid. After we do this, what do we do? Where do we go? And then this is my son and my daughter, and then it's okay. I think about it, but then I realize 25 times more in the next 3 minutes they ask the same question. 25 times in 3 minutes now, and they're not obsessed. They're just on that level. So what am I learning from them when I tell you that? I'm learning how to do something and to think about it and to express it and to give it to you in different shapes and forms 25 times, one after the other in 3 minutes. Now, for them, they don't, it's effortless because they cannot rationalize it. They cannot pause it to reflect. They don't need to. But we as grown up need to do it because that's the only way one can create art in a decent fashion and decently. And that you will see the result accordingly. So, how many artists do you know that take the time to estimate the chances they have? What are the odds for them? And to make sure that this is an important thing to deal with, these contemplations. It's not only about swinging a brush and write and taking the pen or the iPad for hours and writing, and no. It's just like, where do I stand? What is my place here? Am I wasting my time or not? Am I using my time smartly or not? Highly recommended to go there and to figure things out. And every time you think you got it, you start all over again. It's good. And as a drummer, for example, I got this indirect training by saying every time I was like hitting a dead end, my mentor used to say, back to square one, back to basics. Single stroke roll, double stroke roll, paradiddle, triola, back and forth, something that's known to you as a second nature forever and ever. So he gives you, like a boxer that was knocked out, and they're counting, they're 5, 6, and suddenly he turns and his trainer say, get up! And then he gets up at 9 because he just realized, well, I'm feeling like I'm out. I kind of know that I'm here, but I'm not here. He's turning to his trainer, and his trainer says, of course, get up. And then anyway, he gets up only to be knocked out again, but at least he completed a cycle. You see what I mean? At least he's still within that loop of a heavyweight champion of the world. At least he was, dipped in that special water for a little while before he was knocked out. So this is the things that we need to use. The gesture of a boy that tells you, well, after we're gonna have ice cream, and after you said we're gonna go home, but when we go home, we play basketball 5 minutes before we continue to whatever, to tennis. So he's showing a level of sophistication. So I said, well, how come from just saying where are we going from now 25 times, now he gives you a scenario like a chess player that can read 4 steps ahead? Do you play chess?
I do.
Okay, so you know what it means to be only 4 steps ahead of the opponent.
Yeah,
That's a lot to think.
Yeah.
Can you think 4, 5 ahead?
On a really good day, maybe, but usually no.
And
two steps, 3 steps, and then calculating that if you're going to make this step, you can really kind of, the odds of them making this return move is pretty high, and then if they do that, then you're going to make this step, and the odds of them doing that step is pretty high. But after that, I kind of get like, it's hard for me to keep following where I think they might go, like 2 or 3 steps away. But that is the beauty of chess.
Oh yeah. But they will listen. I played with a master, not because I deserved to play with a master. It was a chance. It was a something, whatever. But what I can tell you is that in my boarding school, we had one of the subjects to study was chess. Now they didn't force you; you could add it to your curriculum. And today I walk around hitting my head, saying, "This is the example of all examples that I want to share with you." I was in this boarding school for almost 4 years for my high school in Israel, and it was and they had a grandmaster that immigrated from Russia. It was in the 70s to Israel, and he landed his job. He was a chess professor in our boarding school. And I remember that I was walking around as a 14, 15-year old teenager. And I saw them because most of their sessions were taking place outside. The grandmaster used to love sitting outside and doing with a screen, with a like a TV screen, whatever. And I remember that I was fascinated. I always felt like I'm brushing against greatness when I passed them. And I couldn't quite eloquently even begin to describe what it meant, what it is, what kind of clarity I'm seeking by understanding its nature. But I never actually spent once in the classroom there. It just went past by me, and I'm saying, "Oh my God, this is what it's all about when it comes to you were residing within greatness without participating even in the process, you were affected. That kind of a sense was inserted into you, even without engaging yourself in that aspect at all, hands on, I mean." So now I realize that I got something from it, but now I realize also not only that I need to pay attention, how should I go about paying attention? That is the best way.
That's the beauty. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but please keep going with that.
No. That's pretty much a semi conclusion.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that also you remember step A to step B to step C. Speaking of chess, even if you can think five ahead, how long can you stay in number five? Because the longer your opponent takes to play his move, the less chances you have to remember the scheme of things. You will forget it. What do you think? You can hold on to those five? If it's fast, maybe. But now he took 30 seconds extra. He destroyed your strategy because your mind can only hold on to it for a minute.
That's funny. They're drugs for attention span. To
Yeah.
help you, like think, to hold on to those 4 or 5 moves in advance. Yeah, and then if they do something that and then you have to think. You have to think, oh, if I make this move and they make that move, but what if they don't make that move? And all those things to consider. I love that. That is such a great thing to have been taught, and you kind of learning by osmosis, right? By just hanging out near these guys, you're learning with these grandmasters. That's a great thing to have had in your past at school, at that boarding school. Chess.
But but my rise and demise in chess took place in one afternoon when I was 16 years old or 15 years old, I don't know, whenever, 13-year old, whenever it is that my friend taught me how to play chess, and then we played and I beat him. He taught me how to play chess, and then we played. So he said, "Okay, let's play a game," and I beat him. But that was my height, and this was from low to high to low, and that's it. And I never repeated that again. I never showed signs that I can be a great chess player. You know what I mean?
Why? I mean, so you beat the guy who
I beat the guy who taught me the same day he taught me.
Yeah, the same day.
Yeah, the first game. He said this goes like this goes like that. We need to this. He's the queen. He tell me like a story for 5 minutes. And he set it up and he said, "That's how you move, that's how you can." If I had a question, I asked him while we were playing, but I checkmate him. But this is it. There was no repetition and no mention again of that specialness, so to speak.
But for him, I'm putting myself in his position. So the way, so like if I'm a master, even not a grandmaster, but if I'm teaching you how to play chess and then you beat me the same day, the only way I can walk away without my tail between my legs, thinking, "Wow, this," is realizing either I'm really a really good teacher.
Yeah, like, yeah, take the credit.
Really good teacher, this guy's so brilliant that I don't want to play with him again. And this guy's way beyond me, and this guy's so brilliant. So I taught him, look, he's already beating me.
Look,
That's funny.
for example, you need to be, when one says to oneself, one needs to be kind to himself. Be kind to yourself. Yeah, that's not just a form of speech. That's reality. You need to be able to survive in that battlefield, supposedly, for lack of a better word, that is pretty much your battlefield. It's not the outside world. It's not anything other than you, yourself, and you. There's three entities: you, yourself, and you. Because the second you is not yourself anymore, and it's the third one. Okay, so what I'm saying,
Wait, do that again. What?
you, yourself, and you is already enough to create a battlefield.
Yeah.
So now that battlefield cannot be anyone's, only yours. It's only yours. It's you. So now I'm not telling you, oh, it's you, then you can stop it or do this. I'm not telling you anything. I'm just telling you, create that awareness and understand the deep meaning of taking care of yourself, not by drinking smoothies and eating vegetables, but by maintaining that chain of thought, if only by the fact that things are happening fast enough and enough in number that it can create a nice long loop, because there's so many things and always you add always something, and suddenly that circle and the motion forward of that circle is feeling more and more secured, because the deposits, the inventory is growing. Your savings account are kind of giving you those daily signal that you have nothing really much to worry about. You're okay. You're doing okay. Now you can create that serenity, but only for the sake of experimenting and experiencing things that definitely have nothing to do with serenity. It's the outside world. It's the outside world, and it's the parallel of that which is you're going to build parallel to that outside world, and so much more. Because most of the things that the future is in store for you that you're going to be responsible for are a plenty. You know what I mean? So I see that with you, even the way you speak. You want to just have you want to be able to externalize whatever certain amount with certain things that you have to use certain amount of words. And sometimes it's really not possible to choose shortcuts. I would use a shortcut. My kids, one of the first word I taught them is shortcuts. So when they see that we're going somewhere that they know where I'm going, and suddenly it's not familiar to them, they say, "Oh, Papa, you're taking a shortcut." I said, "Yes, I am."
Oh, cool. So they recognize.
Oh, they know.
The trait, the skill.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a skill.
Yes.
And they recognize, and then so they call you on. I say, "Oh, you're taking a shortcut. That's cool."
Yes. So now this is a great important ingredient in your journey of growth and whatever, all these cliche things and not cliche things, but it's just the whole package of what it is that you need to go through, and how it is that with time you don't really push it to chase it away. You just let things be, because you know that at the end of the day, you really at the end of the day have to show for that many hours that you put. At the end of the day, it's not only that it's not a game, it cannot be a game, because you need to see the numbers, you need to see what new formation is being added. And it's not obsession. Again, you might be mistaken about yourself, not about others. That maybe you're too much, you're too obsessed, you're too this. Fine, you can do the thinking, but only so at the end you'll just put it aside like it's just a little notebook that you add one word to this increasingly growing poem, you know. But you did it, you're allowed to put it aside. So now it's the thing is, you really have to show for something. Otherwise, what is the sense of having this journey active and meaningful? So this I see with you in Sparks, and I said, you know what? Okay, I'm sure that he can give me just as much as I can give him. I'm sure that I can enlighten him just as much as he can enlighten me. Do you understand what a great place to be, to think like that and to feel like that?
Yeah. That's the art of life. But don't go away. I got something for you. I just spotted one. I'm going to be like your kid now, but I just spotted something. So you, in saying the shortcuts and teaching shortcuts. But there's that conflict, that thing that I keep talking about with that. I saying that struggle you have. So you're teaching shortcuts, but you're the one who says there's no simple way to say simple things. There's no simple way to express simple things.
But it's a shortcut to further the cause.
Yeah, yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, well, the economy of words, saying how much can you say in how few words? I love that discipline and trying to say, trying to be expressive, but not have to say a lot of words. But when you had said that thing about there's no simple way to say simple things, actually there was a different. You said that phrase came from a different phrase, right? It was.
There's no simple way to say complicated things.
Complicated things, yeah.
And they made a typo, a mistake.
Yeah.
And then we said, okay, love. God has his own way of implementing changes.
No, but then the shortcut things. You could teach me more about that. I love that the whole thought of that, and I love that your kid recognizes. Oh, you're using a shortcut. You're using a shortcut. I'd love you to teach that to a lot of people. Give a course in shortcuts. You make a fortune.
And so I can give you an example how at the end of the day, when I say, okay, you're going to wake up in the morning or you're going to gather your thoughts at the end of the day, and you really have your own way to measure what happened and to be happy or not happy, satisfied or not, whatever it is. But you will be able. And it's not like you have a choice that you one day you're going to do the estimation and you go going over what's what, or one day yes, one day no. No, at the end of the day, you have to come to terms with yourself. Now, again, it sounds very anal, very like, but it's not. It's very loose, very philosophical, very everything you want it to be. But you will be able to see. You had $98 at the beginning of the day, and if we're speaking of money, you have $117 at the end of the day. The nature of the profit is not so much of your concern. Profit itself is of your concern. So when profit takes place, you don't really necessarily pay attention to numbers, even though if it was a million as opposed to 17, it will make you happier. But that's irrelevant almost. You know what I mean? So now, are you there? Yeah. So now what happens is this. It's called instinctive inner. Uh, um, um, uh, what do you call it? Self dictation. You know, that you almost like force yourself with kindness. So when you're being forced to do something, you won't feel as if you were forced to do something because you had no choice but to accept it. Forced in that case would be like maybe encouraging someone and saying, trust me on this one. I maybe know better than you about that and about you at this moment. And that you say, okay, well, I guess, okay, then I'm fine. And then what happens is, so you sit now, okay, so you have those 5-10 minutes and you say, well, where is the poem? What is the poem? And this and that. You don't dwell too much. Then what happened? You're finding yourself writing. And then you write something out of really nothing. Really, really, absolutely nothing. You're not prepared. There's no subject matter. There's no preconcept. There's no preconditions. There's nothing. There's just like the willingness. There is somewhat of a hoping that is it. Now you start writing. What's the first word? What's the first phrase? There's a lot of threatening things.
Is that where you surprise yourself?
No, it's not. I'm not surprised. I know it's there, and I know that it's there ahead of time because it's always waiting for me to initiate. And then when I initiate, it's becoming very generous and kind to me. And especially because it knows that I will put it to good use. Because it monitors you. That's what you're granted by way of privileges and inspiration it itself is watching you, handling that which you were given just now. It cannot change anything or stop anything, but it's observing. So it's good for you to know that that source, the source itself that provided you with that, is observing you also. So that's like an indirect encouragement that you get constantly. So, for example, I found myself, I give you an example. So I got to this moment, yes? So now this moment is dictating, go ahead, do what you need to do, yeah? Now I'm not, I don't stop there and say, for a second even, to contemplate what it really means, go ahead and do what you have to do. I will never stop at the word have to or any other word in that sentence for any reason in the world. If anything, it would be the beginning of the poem already. So it would be like, in the gentle rain of gathering courage was the first sentence that came to mind. Do you think I paused for a second to understand what is the nature of this sentence? I wouldn't. I'm too smart to dwell into, even if I like it so much, not for a second to dwell and turn back and try to enjoy it for a second, which I can. But time you will have, unlimited time after you establish that. So then you go into, you stand out, a beacon of wholesomeness and availability. So this wholesomeness and availability at the end of the second sentence suddenly gave me a reassurance that the poem is established. Why? Because it brought me, without me knowing how, to these two words that maybe it knew about my system, that it will trigger within my system a zone of comfort and familiarity that will guarantee me a smooth journey to create something that is not so light and not so simple. You gather?
Yeah.
So then you go into a flow. After wholesomeness and availability, your moment arrives. Exhaling to cleanse the remnants that are left behind, obviously. Imagining descent down the slippery slope of fervor, and using the word fervor for a reason. So now you're intentional within that which you trust that comes instinctively. You become intentional. So you see where you involve that different kind of forces that take place? But being intentional is in such a low probability that it's hardly even noticeable. But to the one who writes, it's very noticeable because it takes you, you know, you start, hating the notion of inflicting pain. What's not reasonable about it? Hating the notion of self-inflicted pain. But now he pays it.
Are you resistant? Do you resist that, or you kind of go with it?
Yeah, but you were allowed to hate the notion of self-inflicted pain, even though you know it's inevitable. But then he goes to the world. He wants to give back to the world. So he talks to. I once reached out to touch your head in the darkness. These are images that coming. A silent greeting halfway, a whisper of God in your heart. Before recognition dawned, merging us in an instant. So the echo lingered, granting wishes long after my reply. And I find you in your own light, lost in the vortex of your own creation. So she's becoming real. Who is she? Nobody knows. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Erasing your name from the chart of generations past. Yet you scrubbed on, surrendering to fate's whims until I intervened, pulling you back from the brink. So, of course, I want to say the brink and I leave it there because I know better not to continue to say that I actually saved her life.
That's the period at the end of the sentence.
Yeah, and then he says, now you stand among us. You stand among us. A testament to resilience. Look, I brought her to life and now she's a master. She's a leader. A reminder that paying attention pays dividends. Even as your lips tighten against the cold, Whispers of distant winds carry dreams of yore, elevating fleeting encounters to moments of clarity. So, now, okay, you finished the poem. This is a poem that is established. Believe me, you can send it to press and publish it. It's good to go. And it can only be good to go so fast if you have 150,000 things together that are actually in the right place in the right time. And what governs everything is you really must find yourself not being able to take yourself accordingly, seriously. Accordingly, seriously, accordingly. But in that sense, whether you believe it, I just completed the whole hour here. I hope I didn't flatten you. I didn't flatten you to the wall with all this.
Oh man, so a guy John Tess used to be on Entertainment Tonight, musician, very accomplished guy, has a couple of stars on the Walk of Fame. I trained with him to run a marathon, and he's 6'6", and training with him was incredible exercise, but physically, you are an intellectual John Tess for me.
Oh,
Like when I'm with you, I'm like training intellectually, trying to keep up with you. It's like yeah, so trying to keep up with you, I'll catch up at some point. I mean, I'm still back with your kid.
that's a.
Power of now.
Well, yeah, I know. Good. And that's actually a good place to be. That means your system is compatible with that level of sophistication, and he tells me the answer immediately, so I know everything there is to know about you. Wonderful. But listen.
Well, I have to exercise with you, to keep up with you. Like I said, back with your
Yeah.
kid, and the power of now. How kids live in that moment. That we Eckhart Tolle wrote that about the power of now, and then but you recognize kids are like that. That's why they live in that moment, and then we have to learn how to do that again. But Jewel, it's so you stimulate my mind. There's so many things that touch me when I'm listening to you. It's
That's
great.
great.
Very inspiring, man.
You're flattering me, and I'm happy about that. But let me just finish the show by saying we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here this morning, May 21st, year 2024, here with the Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, and Greg Sullivan is here with us on the phone. Thank you, Greg. I love you, and I respect your effort and your creative demeanor and whatnot. You're a wonderful person.
Right back at you, bud.
And invite me to the show. I can't wait.
Yeah, I got to have you on. That instant viewers